Hello and welcome to On the Record. We are on location at the Grand Lucayan Resort in Grand Bahama. It's also the site of the first ever Grand Bahama Tech Summit. So you may ask, why a tech summit? Why now? Why Grand Bahama? During a recent election campaign, this government made a lot of promises to turn this island around and, more importantly, turn the economy around. Well, it's now time to deliver. The people of Grand Bahama gave the Free National Movement a resounding mandate. All 5 seats were won by the FNM. So the government has decided now to bring a tech summit here for a number of reasons. They're hoping to do some great things on this island through technology. We're going to explore what their plans are. But greater than that, this economy has suffered for quite some time. A series of hurricanes dealing some debilitating blows to the tourism industry here. The island that was once seen as the industrial capital of the Bahamas, not so much anymore. We're going to explore whether that can still happen. We've got some tough questions to ask about the future of this island and what are the plans by this government to get Grand Bahama back to the magic city, the title it once held. We're also going to be talking to some guys who are going to give us some great insight into the potential of the technology industry and the potential of Bahamians to make this industry the way forward. We're going to talk a lot today on this site, on location here at the Grand Lucayan. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. It's all on the record. Our discussion begins right after this break.
On the Record is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
What do you believe?
Do you believe in energy? Do you believe in dreams?
Do you believe in passion?
Do you believe in family?
Do you believe in caring?
Do you believe in freedom?
Do you believe in imagination?
Do you believe in love?
Do you believe in community?
Do you believe in discovering?
Do you believe in music?
Do you believe in yourself?
Do you believe in living?
Believe in best.
Alive. Believe in best.
Are you afraid to swipe your card and you don't like to carry cash? If so, you need checks. Executive Printers can make checks for all your needs. They have laser checks, personal checks, continuous checks, and more. All checks have up to 15 security features, so you know you'll be protected. You can even customize your checks. Come and see one of our experts today, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
Welcome to On the Record. We are on location in a very historic taping of On the Record as we are coming to you from the Grand Bahama Tech Summit, the first of its kind, important and historic in many ways, as it is seen that this will be an opportunity to breathe new life into this island and into the people of Grand Bahama who have been asking for this for so long. I'm very honored to have on the set here on location 2 gentlemen who wield a lot of power on this island and certainly are in a position to really help us to understand what this summit is all about and certainly talk about the future of Grand Bahama. I'm very honored to have Senator the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, who's a Minister of State for Grand Bahama in the Office of the Prime Minister. Sir, happy to have you here on our set and to be a part of our show today.
Sure. Thank you very much. It is a pleasure. Congratulate you on this show. I think it's an excellent voice for the Bahamian people. So we are pleased to have you here in Grand Bahama.
I'm happy to be here. I can certainly tell you're a man who certainly is no stranger as well, especially to us in the media, but definitely to the folks here in Grand Bahama. Ian Roll is the president of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Welcome to On the Record.
And thank you very much, Jerome. I'm also very, very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Being an alumni from St. John's College.
Yeah.
Green Giant.
Yes. Now, you know, I went to St. John's and St. Anne's, so I have to make sure I say that. But definitely proud. I'm certainly proud of you for the work that you're doing here in Grand Bahama. Gentlemen, I have to tell you that the producer and I, and in fact this whole crew, we have been looking for an opportunity to come to Grand Bahama since we started this show. Certainly because of the issues that you face, and we wanted to sort of broaden our reach. And I have to tell you, from the moment we arrived yesterday to prepare for the show, people were excited to see us, and they said, you know, when are you going to do On the Record? And I said, well, we're here to do it now. And I think that's because of the tremendous interest in this island. I want to, first of all, talk about why this tech summit was so important. What was the impetus for this? And, you know, what was it that really made you decide to do this here at this time?
Well, Jerome, I think it was simple. You know, in May when we were elected, we were really elected to change. And we were elected to revitalize Grand Bahama. We had a very serious mandate that things could not remain the way that they are, particularly in Grand Bahama. As you know, we've been challenged in Grand Bahama for some time. And one of our manifesto commitments was to make Grand Bahama a technology hub. And you know, we began to talk to partners like the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and we began to talk to other industry partners about it. And we said, you know, what we really need to do is to get all of our industry persons together. It really just started as a small conference that we were going to be able to discuss things like government policy and how we move this forward. But it actually mushroomed into something that was much larger. And persons really caught a hold of the Prime Minister's vision to make Grand Bahama this technology hub. We began to connect with persons like Alive and Port Authority, and they jumped on board immediately. We began to talk to Bahamians who were doing wonderful things in Silicon Valley. We began to reach out to other larger companies through the help of Alive, like Google and Microsoft and HP, and they all sort of just got it, that this really is something that can be tremendous for Grand Bahama. You know, we are known really as the industrial capital of the Bahamas, but the natural evolution for industry is innovation. And so it just fit that this really is where Grand Bahama's future should be. You know, we are in this hotel, and this hotel obviously is having its challenges, and the government is immediately addressing those challenges that the hotel has. But it speaks to the fact that tourism is not going to be the completion of where we need to go. It is important, and it needs to be developed, and it is. But we need to begin to tap into other industries. And so the conference and the summit really is about how we form government policy and how we shape our plan for the future and how we move this industry forward. And then it's really about motivating those entrepreneurs and motivating the local persons in the industry so that they can take advantage of this as well. So then we have things like the Blue Marlin Challenge that will be giving persons a grant to do technology businesses and so on. So it really came up as a birth to transforming us into this technology hub, but it really got a tremendous interest from all of our partners, and they jumped on board, and that's how we got here today.
Excellent start. Ian, the Minister would have mentioned two critical things that have been tried on this island before. The industrial capital of the Bahamas, Grand Bahama, was pegged at one time. We tried the tourism thing. We can honestly say to ourselves that, you know, those things aren't working at this point. Some things are going on. Is the Port Authority, are the people of Grand Bahama, is the infrastructure ready now for this new potential industry? If we're talking about making this the technology hub, Are the people ready, and is the island ready for the possibilities?
Well, I really do think so. Well, back in 2012, the Port Authority saw the vision in regards to growing this ICT industry. We firmly believe that the future is bright for this technology sector in Freeport. And one of the reasons why we also are attracted to it is because if we attract the kind of people who the programmers of the world, for instance, these are people who have also great salaries and are able to feed the other businesses in Freeport. Freeport has the infrastructure. It suffers from the lack of critical mass. And the Port Authority can't do it by itself. The government can't do it by itself in regards to growing particular industries, especially this one. But together, we are strong. And I was so excited when the minister spoke to me about this technology summit. Like he said, we jumped on board because we get it. We get it right away. I mean, there's certain policy changes that the minister stated that needs to happen in order to cause this thing to flourish. And if we work together, we would make this happen in the shortest period of time.
So a couple of things, Minister, I want to throw to you. I listen with interest when he says, people who are involved in IT and technology will bring big salaries and that's going to trickle down. But my question is, where do the Grand Bahamians fit into this? Because you're not talking about this. I'm sure people are going to say, well, wait a minute, you're talking about bringing people in or expanding the industry. What about us? Charity begins at home. That's one. And secondly, how quickly will policy changes take place to make these things happen? Because it's good to talk about what should and could happen, but the reality is the wheels of government turn very slowly at times.
Well, let me take your second point first in terms of how quickly. The government has already laid legislation in Parliament, the Commercial Enterprise Bill. And the Commercial Enterprise Bill really speaks to what we're doing here today, because the purpose of the bill is to really do two things. It is to streamline the application and the process upon which these kinds of businesses can get up and running. So the Commercial Enterprise Bill speaks of persons being able to come to get a special certificate, get a special license, to be able to do it within a certain period of time. And it speaks to the category of businesses, which will include like computer programming. It will include database, data centers. It will include other technology companies as well. So it speaks to recognizing that we have to streamline that process. We have to deal with the ease of doing business to bring these kinds of companies in, and that's legislation that's already before Parliament that we're ready to do.
Very serious issue.
Absolutely.
In the Bahamas. That's not just in Grand Bahama. You're talking about the Bahamas at large.
Exactly. And the second thing that the commercial bill speaks to is immigration, which might be a controversial point. However,
immigration is always a controversial
point. It is a necessary point that we have to discuss.
And when you say controversial, what do you think is going to be controversial about?
Well, there's always this perception, and in some cases it may be a misconception, but there's always this perception that someone who comes to the Bahamas to work is coming to take a job that a Bahamian can do. But in this technology field, you have to recognize that in order for those companies, those kinds of companies to come, there's going to have to be the ability for those persons to be able to bring the kinds of persons to do those kinds of jobs.
The skills and the skill sets.
But the way that Bahamians will be able to benefit is tremendous benefit that we're going to be able to get. One is the more these companies are able to come, the more Bahamians are going to have opportunities to get involved with those companies that would not have come ordinarily.
Which brings me, I guess, back to the first question: where do Grand Bahamians fit into all of this? Because if I'm a Grand Bahamian, I'm sitting and watching this, and I said, you know what, this sounds really great. You want to set up these companies and bring these folks in, but what about me? What are going to be the opportunities?
Opportunities.
And let me add to that too. I think by seeing certain skill sets even displayed here, it gives the younger generation hope too, and to know that the government intends to implement the correct policies, the right policies, to encourage these types of businesses. Now we would encourage our kids to get more involved in the tech field. Before, we say to our kids, go and be a lawyer, go and be a doctor, go and be an accountant, go work in the bank, all right? And so the advantage that we have here also by implementing this new system or these policies to encourage people to come here, because we have a lot of Bahamians who don't come back home. So we speak about the brain drain, but this could actually help the Bahamas by bringing some of our people back.
So Ian, one of the criticisms that the Port Authority, that is always levied against the Port Authority, is that it's as sort of the regulatory body here, it's not always nimble. And people feel that sometimes your policies are restrictive. I mean, are you looking now at putting some things in place that will allow the expansion of this, will allow people to come and set up business and do some things that probably they can't do right now?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in innovation, and everybody who around me, everyone in my team, and persons who meet me will tell you that I'm a firm believer in creating new stuff that do not exist and test the system and break the system if necessary. And so one of the things that I did recently, I introduced a concept for the person, the nomad, the virtual business person who doesn't need a big office space. All they need is a desk, for instance. So we encourage another licensee to introduce shared office space and offer virtual desks where you could rent a desk for $250 or $300 a month, and you're able to operate and get a license from the Port Authority. So no more does someone have to get a $500,000, $600,000 office space for a business that only requires 1 or 2 persons.
And
if I could also add to that, I mean, you mentioned, and it's a good point in terms of what is there for Grand Bahamians, and to make sure that Grand Bahamians feel a part of what we're doing. And one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we develop that entrepreneurial spirit. And so that's why, and the Port Authority has done it as well, but to be able to offer grants for the technology industry. So we are not just saying to Bahamians that, okay, we want other persons to come and do business, but we are saying to Grand Bahamians, we want to help you develop your business in the technology field. And we want to be able to do it where we will give you training to start your business and how to open up your business. We will give you funding on to be able to get it up and running. And we will then give you some mentorship to continue to help you along the way. So it's not just a question of who can we bring in, but it is also a question of who can we bring up. And so the Grand Bahamians, we want to let them know that they are a part of this. They are what, you know, one thing somebody said to me is, you're going to be a tech hub if you have tech businesses that cluster in one place. You will then be named a tech hub. But how we do that? We do that by developing our human capacity, and we do that by giving Bahamians opportunity to start their own businesses in that area. And that's one of the things the government and the Port Authority is doing.
Gentlemen, we are at the point of our first break, and I just want to make the point that a lot of times I know Bahamians feel as if they are somehow not at the table enough when things like this happen or when opportunities like this come along. So we're certainly going to talk about in this next portion of the show too some of the potential opportunities that are on the table as well, I mean, even outside of this conference. So folks, we are going to take a short break. You are watching On the Record. We are on location at the Grand Lucayan at the site of Grand Bahama's first tech summit. Historic in many ways, but certainly an opportunity for us here to talk about what's happening on this island. Stay with us. We are back right after this break.
On the Record is sponsored by BAF Financial. BAF for life.
I'm free to live my life, yeah. Free to be me, yeah. The way I want to be. Doing the things that I want to do. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey! BAF for life. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey! BAF for life. For life. BAF has got you covered.
Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon in crystal clear HD. That's over 220 football games for the entire regular season. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you include NFL Red Zone, a channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game and all your fantasy football teams. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket. Call 601-8992 today.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play, we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. Island Games. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games. We can make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Welcome back to On the Record. We are on location here at the Grand Lucayan for the Grand Bahama Tech Summit, the first of its kind, joined in this segment by the Minister of State, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, as well as Ian Roll, the President of Grand Bahama Port Authority. Gentlemen, I have been coming to Grand Bahama, dating myself again, from the 80s, when it was really known as the Magic City, you know, from the days of the International Bazaar was a place that I always wanted to visit because I thought it was this great place to come to the days of the Princess Hotel and the casino. And, you know, I've watched the steady decline. You know, you've had some natural disasters and hurricanes, but you've had some, you know, economic issues that have just really continued to gnaw away at what was once a vibrant economy. Nasuvians used to come to Grand Bahama to get away and to party and to celebrate. This was it wasn't a chance. This was called the Magic City. You know, nowadays you're driving in and I see buildings and businesses I saw 2 years ago that have closed. Yeah. People who I know to be resident here are now in New Providence or gone to Bimini or other places they've uprooted and left their homes. Yeah. You know, just to try and find a better way of life. It's no mystery that this economy is suffering. But I also know that, you know, from our research that one of the things that you're looking at is this potential 4.5 billion oil storage terminal in the media recently planned for East Grand Bahama. I want to talk about that. As you look at sort of bringing in and making this the technology hub, there's some other things you're looking into. I want to talk about that and whether that's a viable option. If so, why?
Well, Jerome, the government is really looking at developing industry in Grand Bahama. That's an application that's pending before the government. I believe there's been a approval in principle. That application is steadily moving along. I think that there are some, and which is normal, there are some issues that are being worked out between the government and the parties now, and we hope to be able to have that resolved in the shortest period of time. But we need to attract new business to Grand Bahama. We need to make it easier for businesses to come to Grand Bahama. One of the initiatives that we are working on is a one-stop shop for Grand Bahama. It makes no sense that someone has to go to the Port Authority, and then they have to go to the government, and then they have to go to all of these different entities in order to start a business. It's too long. The process is not quick enough. So the ease of doing business.
Yeah, okay.
In order for, and it's a simple process because the quicker we are able to get them here and to do business, the quicker we are able to get them to employ people.
Are there any concerns with bringing in something like that when you already have a Borco sitting right out there?
Well, as I said, those are policy issues that the government is looking at now. I mean, those are issues that we are making determinations on, and it's a live issue that we are making determinations on now. But the point is that we must be receptive to new businesses coming here that is going to create employment.
Ian, do you accept that it's not easy to do business here?
Especially for foreign applications. Bahamian applications, no problem. The Port Authority, we will approve all local applications within 48 hours. We would love to do the same with the foreign investor, and that's where the issue lies, and the minister spoke to that fact. We are speaking about how to solve that. He spoke to this one-stop shop. Something that we're looking at is this virtual portal, where if an investor is interested in doing something in Grand Bahama, you go on the portal and you can choose the planning guide. The guide, after you answer certain questions concerning the business type and other things relating to your business, a report will be generated. You then know you go off and gather the information that is required, come back to the portal, implement the information, upload it, and the data, the investor shouldn't know what goes on behind the scenes. Right now it's a maze, right? But then, and the investor has to enjoy all of this right now.
And that's not really the investor's concern.
No,
only want to know that
right.
your
He just want to get
application is
approved.
approved, yeah.
And so what we're discussing amongst ourselves now is with this portal, information being directed to the right source, whether it be the Office of the Prime Minister, whether it be immigration, whether it be central bank, and in a time response manner, information comes back into the portal and all the various approvals will be gotten by the investor. That is the environment that people are looking to thrive in at the moment. And that's the kind of environment we want to promote.
So you think people have just been turned off by not doing, turned off from doing business here because it's so complicated?
Well, look, you have, I think, and it's not necessarily they've been turned off, but I think they've been frustrated. And I think that there are a number, and we hear the issues all the time, but that is what sort of motivates us to get it done and get it done quickly, because, and this isn't something that's far off. I mean, again, legislation is before Parliament now. The Grand Bahama Act that is going to repeal the previous Grand Bahama Incentives Act that we just tabled already speaks to this very same concept of the one-stop shop and puts it in legislative form so that the government will form an entity along with the Port Authority so that there'll be one body that a international company will be able to apply to in order to get license and to move their application forward. So this is legislation that's before Parliament now that is moving that situation forward, because this is not a new problem. We've had this problem for years. It's just now that we now have a Port Authority who I know has been advocating this for a very long time, but we now have a government who is prepared to now put the legislation in place and drive the process home.
If we could move the discussion further, this property that we're sitting on right now, the Grand Lucayan, has had any number of issues. I mean, just as recent as the last hurricane damage, which is, continued to cripple the property. It's only a portion of it now that's even really open. Yeah. Deal, we understand, for the purchase was on the table, then it was off. What is the state of the negotiations right now for the sale of this property?
Yeah, I think, Jerome, it's important for us to sort of know the context upon which we came in. When we came to office in May, there was an announcement that there was a deal and that the hotel was going to be open.
People were overjoyed about that.
And people were very excited about it.
Yeah.
When we came to office, we discovered that there really was a letter of intent that was issued by one of the investors, and it was accepted at that point by the government. Sorry, it was accepted by Hutchison. It was a live issue before the government. But in these processes, it's not just a matter of accepting a deal, but it is knowing what the entire picture is for the development of the hotel. And so that issue had not been addressed. So we did not know who was going to be the operator. We did not know what was going to happen with the renovations. And so we began to discuss that. Again, in the public, what was already in the public domain was that investor at some point had withdrawn. What was being put forward at that time with the government was not acceptable, and his offer had been withdrawn. The government since then has been talking to a number of persons, but since then had again made the difficult but necessary decision that it would make an offer to purchase the hotel. We cannot just allow things to remain the way that they are. We have thousands of persons who were working at this hotel who continue to remain unemployed, and we must, as quickly as we can, get this entire property up and running. It is connected to the Port Lucaya. It is connected to taxi drivers. It's connected to straw vendors. It is really the heart of the tourism product in Grand Bahama.
I'm glad you said that. And I wanted to ask you that, how important is it to the lifeblood of this community to get this particular property up and running again?
I mean, this is vital. We're talking about, what, 1,000 to 2,000 jobs. That's a big deal in Grand Bahama. And like the minister stated, the business overflow from this hotel to Port Lucaya.
I was in Port Lucaya yesterday and today, and I could see the impact. And that was always a vibrant area to me.
Yes. And we have some other challenges beside this hotel, but we are addressing those and actually working on transactions and deals right now that I cannot speak to. But this entire area, there will be a rebirth in this area.
Any timelines very quickly before we move on as to when you would like to see things here?
As soon as possible.
ASAP.
That is the reality is sooner cannot come
I'll tell you this as we move into our next topic. Grand Bahamian told me, he said a couple months ago, he said, Jerome, if things don't pick up by December, he says we're in some serious trouble. And I think
and this is the thing. Grand Bahamians are a very resilient people, and one of the things that we have been wanting to do is to also kickstart other industries in addition to tourism. So separate and apart from the Tech Summit, what we did was we had a APRI entrepreneurship program where we grabbed 30 young people, partnered with the Bahamas Development Company, trained them. They are now in the process of being trained in the APRI, which is the honey production. They will be granted loans from the development bank, and they will be given a mentorship program for a year where that business model will be developed, training them into different industry, different area. Again, we're going to be doing the same thing with tourism. We're going to be doing the same thing with the technology field. But it is really about that spirit of entrepreneurship. That's really where the development of the economy is going to come.
Everybody talks about the fact that the entrepreneurial sector is really the lifeblood, and that's where the engine really is in driving an economy. I want to talk quickly and want you to comment on the $35 million buyout of the Grand Bahama Power Company and whether that's on again, off again. What's happening with that? We understand it may be under review.
Yes, the government has indicated that we are reviewing the matter, and it is a matter that's presently before the cabinet.
Can you say why it's under review?
It's a matter that has to be looked at because we want to make sure that it's in the best interest of the Bahamian people.
So if it doesn't happen, then what?
I don't want to speculate as to whether it will or it will not happen, because obviously it's under review.
Okay.
So, but let me say this. It has to be looked at from the point of view of Bahamian ownership. It has to be looked at from the point of view of a utility company. It has to be looked at from the point of view of a company that's already trading on BISX. And so there are a number of sort of moving parts that it's not just one simple transaction. And the government has to make a determination on what is going to be in the best interest of Grand Bahamians, what is going to be in the best interest of Bahamians. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at it, and then we're going to make the determination.
When we come in, when people see me all the time, they always say to me, oh, when you get so-and-so on the show, you have to ask them about this. And somebody said to me, you have these folks on the show, ask them what's happening with the airport and whether the government is going to move to take that over, and how is that going to affect the overall cost of airfare, and is that going to benefit us at the end of the day? So.
Look, let me say this also. Airfare and air transport to Grand Bahama is a huge problem. It is a huge problem because it is one of the most expensive, Grand Bahama is one of the most expensive destinations on this side. And there are a number of reasons as to why it is expensive. The best answer that I can say to you is that is a present project that the government of the Bahamas is actively looking at right now.
Looking at to do what?
Looking at to improve the situation to the point where we reduce the cost to be able to travel here.
Now, let me add to that, because I'm also a part of the Grand Bahama Tourism Board, and we have approached certain airlines to reduce the airfare. People speak to the fact that...
Why is it so high?
Well, the demand. The demand drives pricing as well. Let's take how many persons, when you look at how many persons travel to Nassau, the demand to go to Nassau is much higher than coming to Freeport, right? So the airlines reduce the price because of the demand that exists. I think one, we have to try and create more demand for the destination. That's one. Then persons always talk about the fees. You have to remember I think the fees for Nassau now are higher than the fees here, because now you have NAD running that operation and must try and make a profit. So when you look at the fee structure, pre-clearance alone is about 33% of those fees. And if you take pre-clearance away, then you take an advantage away from the destination as well. So it's not that simple to solve.
One of the other things as well is the cost of oil and fuel. Sorry, the cost of fuel that is in order to buy the fuel. So, and all of that is adding to the price of the ticket that's going up. So it's not one problem that has to be solved, but it's a number of different things that have to be solved. So, but it is going to be solved.
Yeah. Good news. Gentlemen, as we prepare to wrap up this segment, I'm going to ask you both the same question. In 6 months, when I come back to Grand Bahama, what can I expect? Minister, I'm going to start with you. What can we expect to see in 6 months? And On the Record is back here. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to sit in this spot, but we'll sit down to talk again. Yeah. What is it that we're going to talk about? What are some of the successes you want to be able to talk about in 6 months?
I think in 6 months you should see the hotel open. I think in 6 months you should see hundreds of persons employed at this hotel. I think in 6 months you will see a number of entrepreneurs who have been funded, who are starting their businesses. I think in 6 months you're going to see fruits of the Tech Summit. I think in 6 months you're going to see a new attitude. You're going to see a new spirit. I believe that you're going to see some improvements in the economy. I believe you're going to see more people employed. We're going to continue to face challenges, but the bottom line is, in 6 months, it's going to be better than it is today.
Ian, from the Port Authority's perspective, what do you want to see in 6 months?
No, agreed. The key thing is this hotel. That's number one. In 6 months, based on the parties that I know are to the table, this hotel problem is going to be solved. So that's key. And then there's going to be a rebirth of this Port Lucaya area where this hotel sits. There's a developer with $80 million sitting, waiting in the bank, ready to go now. And it depends on what happens with this hotels before this developer moves forward. And then as a result of that, because of the strong brands that also exist or will come here to this hotel, I'm also looking at real estate development in a key part of the island where we have infrastructure, and again, that land is ready to go. So we're going to see tremendous interest also in developing other tourism-related products as a result of this hotel opening up.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was a great way to end the segment. I'm going to hold you to those things. 6 months we'll be back. We'll move around some more and see how this is all developed and played out. Thank you so very much. Congratulations on a great summit too. I can tell you the time I spent here seems to be a really great success, and hopefully, as you said, Minister, that you will see now the fruits of your labors come to bear very soon. I'm sure the people of Grand Bahama and the people of the Bahamas are anxiously awaiting all of that. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We're going to continue with our discussion on the record. We have some folks who are presenting at this great summit here who are going to talk to us about the potential in technology, certainly for the people on this island, but for Bahamians in general. Stay with us. On the Record continues on location right after this.
This segment is sponsored by Percy's Island Game.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. 'Cause Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. Island Games. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games, we can make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Yep. I got you.
I really appreciate you helping us out.
No problem, buddy.
Yeah, but thanks for helping us all.
Oh, I see you.
What happened, babe? What you mean?
Our news weekend has moved to 7:30.
I'm free to live my life, yeah. Free to be me, yeah. The way I wanna be. Doing the things that I wanna do. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey! BAF for life. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey! BAF for life. For life. BAF has got you covered.
Welcome back to On the Record. We are on location at the Grand Bahama Tech Summit, where they're talking all things tech over the 2 days that this summit is taking place. I'm happy to have with me in this portion of the show two gentlemen who really exemplify what this conference is all about, and certainly all of the potential for this conference and for this island. These gentlemen are, I call it, embedded within the technology industry. My guest for this segment, Shadan Delaveau. He's a recruiter of global business operations with Google. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate
glad
it.
to have you here. Google has become a household name over the past few years. We'll talk a little bit about the work that you're doing here. Also, Dr. Gadrin Higgs, he is a Bahamian, Grand Bahamian, living in Silicon Valley.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Yeah, welcome home.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we're going to talk about why you're here and why you thought it important to be a part of this conference. As you're the guest, we're going to start with you.
Absolutely. So as I said, it's exciting to be here. And for me, it was important. Once I understood that Grand Bahama was really trying to put together a tech summit to explore becoming a tech hub, a global tech hub, for me, having Bahamian roots originally, being in the tech sector and being someone who's ultimately very concerned with the professional development and professional opportunities for our people, it was really a no-brainer. So I'm here to help people understand what careers look like in technology and how they develop some of the skills that they need to be successful in the sector.
Gadrin, other than coming home to enjoy the weather and all this other stuff, what really was it? What was the impetus for getting you here?
Yeah, so the big thing is for me to be here is really to show evidence and be an inspiration to many of the other Grand Bahamians and even fellow Bahamians that there is the opportunity to pursue your dream, to pursue your passion, to be able to go to universities and be able to make it to somewhere like Silicon Valley and be able to do cool and inspiring things that are sort of around developing your own technologies and being able to see something from the ground up. And it can be more than just the small ideas that we have when we're young, but rather grows with us and with time.
Quickly, for folks in my generation, I may remember when Silicon Valley blew up and what the excitement was around it. But for people who don't know why, that part of the world really is so important, give us a quick snapshot of, what makes Silicon Valley so exciting, particularly at this time?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start off with name dropping. How about that? We've got Google that's there. We've got Apple that's there. We've got a lot of other big companies that are there. Facebook is there as well. Twitter is there. And when you think of sort of modern day tech companies, that's sort of where they are sort of based out. But that's sort of today. If we look at the history of it, where it has come from along, many years, it's sort of come out of the HPs and the Samsungs and all these other, like Stanford Research, SRI, that institution, and all these other initiatives or these other companies that have helped to shape the future of just the industry as a whole when we think of what it's even like to use a computer or any of these other devices, right? And so one of the big parts that is a driving force for all of that innovation is also the university that is there. So Stanford University is where I studied, and it's sort of a breeding ground for that type of technology and that type of talent.
I want to ask you gentlemen, what is the potential at this point for careers for young Bahamians, many who may be unemployed or in some kind of employment. But what's the potential now in technology? A lot of young people, I just find, they're on social media, they're online, they're on their phones, they're doing stuff. 90% of it really is just about entertainment. And I don't know if you can say just about entertainment, but you know, if I'm a young Bahamian and I'm looking at this, what potential is there for me, and why should I even be interested at this point?
Yeah.
No, after you.
Okay, I'll just kick it off real quick. So there is tons are tons of opportunities when we think of everyone around us. Everyone who's listening to this right now is probably using some type of technology device. So it's something that impacts all of us, whether we like it or not, whether we want to accept it or not, right? And we can be more than just consumers of content. We can be generators of these types of technologies and different things. And so there's one thing I was thinking of in particular as I thought about this event that I'm here at today, which is we have a unique opportunity, and this is everyone everywhere in the world. We have a unique opportunity today that we didn't have about 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and that is we have universities or information that you would typically only get in a university setting that's now available online. If you think of massive open online courses, that's something that if you have a passion and you're driven to learn more about any particular topic, you can totally find, right? So it allows you to go from just being a content, I guess, consumer to a generator or producer of these types of technologies.
I couldn't put it any better. Tech is, what's so amazing about it is that the industry almost feeds itself. And so it's super exciting because it's this intersection of innovation and opportunity. And beyond that, the opportunity is accessible. So anyone that has a smartphone, anyone that has a laptop, anyone that has a tablet can, to his point, not only consume and engage, but also learn. So all the skills that you need to be successful within the tech industry are literally accessible to you through the devices that you're using to engage the tech industry. Whether you need to learn how to code, whether you need to learn some of the systems and softwares that different companies use and sell, all those things are available online.
And you don't physically have to go somewhere to get that information and learn anymore, right?
Not at all. Not at all. You can literally be in the comfort of your home. And it's one of the things that I'll speak about during my presentation a little bit later today, that if technology is something that you're interested in, take a look at the companies that you like and do a bit of research and see what are their products. So what are they selling? Google, for example, is selling ads. Apple sells hardware. Facebook sells ads. Well, if that's what those companies' products are, how can you immerse yourself in learning all about those products to teach yourself those skills that will then be beneficial to those companies? Because at the end of the day, whether you're talking about a Google, a Facebook, an Apple, or whoever, they need salespeople. They need marketing folks. They need people who can actually design software and all those things. But you go a long way by teaching yourself about their products from wherever you are. And you can literally do that from home.
Gents, we're going to take a quick break and come back. We're going to finish off the discussion. Stay with us. We are on location.
What do you believe?
Do you believe in energy? Do you believe in dreams?
Do you believe in passion?
Do you believe in family?
Do you believe in caring?
Do you believe in freedom?
Do you believe in imagination?
Do you believe in love?
Do you believe in community?
Do you believe in discovering?
Do you believe in music?
Do you believe in yourself?
Do you believe in living?
Believe in best.
Since our first episode on the record has had a profound effect on audiences, each week we push the boundaries of political debate, exploring the challenges of governance, the excitement of opposition politics, all against the backdrop of a majority young and oftentimes impatient electorate.
You are the expert here, yet you've done nothing. You appear to have no plan.
And from the time man has been on this world, men have been making mistakes.
God realized that's why he make hell.
Well, wait a minute, sir.
This is a benefit of being an independent juror. I don't have to sit there and squabble about who did what over the past 40, however many years.
We touch on the controversial, contentious, and current. Our goal, to leave audiences more informed to make better decisions. Be sure and join us each Thursday at 8 p.m., cable channel 212. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. We hope to see you then.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. 'Cause Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. Island Games. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games. We can make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Welcome back to our final segment. On the record, on location at the Grand Bahama Tech Summit. Historic for us in many ways, but certainly historic for this island in so many other ways. This is the first of its kind in terms of the technology summit, but also the potential that this summit is bringing to this island. Grand Bahama has been, as we said at the top of this show, really in the economic doldrums for some time. A series of events have really set this island and the people of this island back, and in some ways in a downward spiral that we would have talked about earlier in the show. But you gentlemen certainly, I think, represent the hope of many people for this island. Grand Bahama historically has tried so many things. It's been the industrial, or at one time pegged as the industrial capital. They've tried tourism. All of these things have not really kept, not sustained the island. This now is something new that this government is trying. They want to make Grand Bahama the technology capital of the Bahamas and possibly the gateway to even this part of the world. When you look at an island like this, with a somewhat small population but strong infrastructure, what is the potential? Does it make sense? When you look at it, when I first heard this, I thought, could this really make sense? But the more I listen and the more I hear about it and pay attention, then sort of the light bulb begins to ignite a bit, and I think, well, maybe it can work. But can this actually work for this island?
Yeah, so I do believe that it is possible. If I think of, let's say, some of the experiences that I've had, particularly as it relates to technology, there wasn't necessarily anything exclusive about those environments that we can't really find and create sort of in this environment here, right? And so, and what I mean by that is it's not like we're harnessing natural resources per se, which would be exclusive to a certain part of the world. We're talking about technology. Technology can exist anywhere. It doesn't have to exist only in California. It doesn't have to be in other certain parts of the world. Sure, there might be some geographical things that make it possible for it to be there and facilitate that, but being where we are in Grand Bahama relative to the United States in terms of proximity, we have some of those proximity advantages that other places in the world or even in the Caribbean wouldn't have.
The decision makers of this country, as in many other countries, would be a part of that generation who are struggling to keep up with the technology and in some ways fearful. I mean, even in my generation, as much as I hate to say the 40 and above, are sometimes fearful of technology and what it brings and what it means. What do you say to those groups of people who say, wait a minute, we don't know much about this technology stuff, and what is this now going to open us up to?
So to me, what's exciting is that technology is really the great equalizer. And all that it takes to be successful around it is a spirit of courage and a spirit of curiosity. It's something that's accessible, and again, it's one of the things that I talk about, that contrary to popular opinion, tech seems very inaccessible, but contrary to popular opinion, it's very accessible. people who aren't necessarily in the industry think that it requires superhuman feats of strength, agility, endurance, and things like that to enter. But in reality, most of us have certain core skill sets if we've already been in the industry that we can use and only just slightly adjust and view through a tech lens. So if we've been in marketing before, if we've done sales before, if we've done customer service before, the industry needs all of those functional areas. So it's not that if you've done those things before, you need to necessarily go back and start from square zero and relearn how to code a computer. I, for example, have no tech background whatsoever. My undergraduate degree was in philosophy, and then I got a business degree focused in marketing. I've been in the tech industry for about 2 years and now work for for just a great company in that industry. But I'm an example of someone who I've done marketing in the past, I've done sales in the past, I've done human resources in the past, and was quickly able to pick up and realize that it just required a slight change in perspective to be successful.
Because when you think technology, you think, oh, I've got to get a degree in IT, or I need some computer. What was it people studied when I was in school? Computer something.
But it's not true. It's not true, right? So I want to echo that point that you mentioned about curiosity, because curiosity is something that drives so many aspects of life when it comes to learning just about anything, right? And technology, the way how I see technology is this: it's coming. You can either be someone who wants to be a part of it, or you will be left out by it. And that shouldn't be a discouraging thing to anyone. Rather, it should be encouraging. Why? Because you don't necessarily need any super advanced technical skill sets just to be able to understand how to do certain things. So I like to say embrace the technology and try to make it a part of your everyday life.
What are some of the things you've been telling and will tell folks at this conference that they hear? A lot of people have come in, I guess, and they're sponges now for information and opportunity. What are you telling folks who are either in one-to-one conversations or during your presentations here?
Use your resources. There are a plethora of free resources to help you understand and become immersed in this industry. So whether we're talking about learning about companies and using like a Glassdoor, connecting with people who are already in the industry and using companies like a LinkedIn or vehicles like that, or using some of the online courses to actually learn some of the hardcore skills that may be required for specific functional areas. But be creative and use those resources, because it's an industry that's accessible to just about everyone.
This is your home. I mean, people are hungry for an opportunity right now.
Yeah. So the way how I think of it, sort of threefold, and particularly so targeted towards the younger generation. But the first of which is passion. The second of which is perseverance, and the third of which is don't be afraid to take risks. So when I think about passion, most great things come from people who are really passionate about what they're doing. Like, you need to be driven by the ideas. No one should be the one waking you up in the morning to tell you go do this or go do that. Perseverance is essential. Why? Because we all will at some point fail at something. And if we don't fail, it means we're not taking any risks, which brings me to my third point, which is don't be afraid to take risks. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it won't pay off. However, if you take calculated risks, not silly, crazy risks, but if you
jump off the roof without a parachute.
Yeah, absolutely not. We're not talking about that type of risk, but we're talking about like methodical risks, things that, should they pay off, they would be beneficial and would benefit society as a whole.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for stopping by and sharing this information with us. The Bahamas, and certainly the people of Grand Bahama, appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully the audience took in some of what you said today. I mean, this is an exciting time. I always joke when I speak to people, and I said, I remember when we moved from typewriters to computers. I know that dates me, but it is it's an exciting era, and the possibilities are great. We thank you so much for stopping by, and best of luck to you and your time here at this conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you will come back when they do this again, because it's my understanding they want to make this an annual event.
I look forward to it.
Thank you so very much. That's going to do it for this show. I want to thank all of my guests, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, Ian Roll, Shadan Delaveau, Gadrin Higgs, also the entire organizing team here, including Raquel Benaby Hart, Grand Bahama Ministry of Tourism, Keen Eye Media, my producer, technical staff, and the people of Grand Bahama who've been so welcoming and wonderful to us during our time here. We thank you so much for watching On The Record. It's been my pleasure. As always, keep watching. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Good night, everyone. Thanks for looking in.